Hello and welcome to A Book Without a Barcode, where I will be reviewing The Man Who Never Was by Ewen Montagu, who was a British naval intelligence officer. And the reason why that's important is because this is a rare non-fiction book for this channel. I honestly picked this up originally because I thought it was genre fiction, but then once I read the back of it and then also started reading it, realized no, this actually happened. This is a book about Operation Mincemeat, an integral operation of deception that helped ensure the victory of Allied forces in Operation Husky, which was the landing of Allied forces capturing of Sicily after the successful campaign in North Africa in order to establish a base in the Mediterranean in order to have an Allied base of operations like as a pincher movement. So you had the British up here going down, and then you would have the Allied forces of the Americans and the British forces going up this way to like do the pincery thing with the Nazis. So that was the importance of Operation Mincemeat. And I will say that as someone who doesn't read a lot of spy books or partake in the thriller genre very often, this does read very much like a thriller novel. It is one of those rare instances, which, you know, Montagu mentions in the book, that is stranger than fiction. Like, this actually happened. And what Operation Mincemeat was that they decided to plant false documents onto a false major and have this false major wash up onto Spanish shores with these documents that would indicate, instead of the actual plans of Operation Husky, which would be to invade Sicily and set up operations there, was to instead invade Sardinia as well as Greece and set up the Mediterranean operations in those locations. That proved super valuable to Allied forces because it was successful. The Man Who Never Was goes into the creation of this fictional person, the securing of a dead body of appropriate height, weight, and stature that would be a British naval officer at the time. Also, the allocation of the uniform, and then also trying to build a believable major, fake major in the British forces by, you know, creating a background for them, creating other accoutrements like bills of sale and identification, and giving them the proper wear. And they even create a fake fiance for this major because, you know, those wartime whirlwind romances. And it was just really interesting. And they did all this in order to make this person seem more real. And they did all of this background work to make this fake major feel like a real person that the Germans would believe. And I thought that that was just really neat because they're trying to figure out, all right, if someone just washed up on shore with like one important letter saying, oh, we're going to go to Sicily, if a body washed up on shore in a uniform that says, oh, well, we're going to go to Sardinia instead of Sicily, like, people aren't going to believe that because nobody just does that. Like, they're not going to have that verbatim in a letter. So to try to imply it in a way that's clever, that's informal between two big commanders and have them in on the plot, and then also to build all these subsequent letters as well in order to give credibility to this fake person. It's just really neat, especially since this absolutely would not happen now. Like, it would be impossible, well, not impossible, it would be much more difficult to create something like that now with all of our technology and our media footprints. You know, you'd have to build like a fake Facebook profile or like fake Instagram accounts. Like, you can't just immediately create someone as of, you know, a month ago and put all the background information for someone to believe it now. So it was just, it's a really nice little like time capsule into that time period. It also is just like a brilliant operation, to be honest, like all the little thoughts and details that they put into this operation, into this book. And, you know, I do have a degree in history. My emphasis is in American archaeology. My actual thesis was justifying the death of Julius Streicher by the Nuremberg trials. So I spent a significant amount of time studying the Nuremberg trials. So I've spent a lot of time studying World War II in not a great way. It was a nice little piece of more in-depth history, and as someone who actually really likes social history, which is why I had an emphasis in American archaeology, like I like the things of history, like that's why I have all these books about dress, and I'm more interested in the people, and I'm more interested in the things that people create. So this actually was probably the best way to get me to read about a specific military operation with a specific military date and time, is because of the fact that they had to create all of the social history of a person in order to make the operation successful and believable to the Germans. And it's interesting because this book also not only goes into the creation of this fake person and the deployment of this fake person into the waters and how they did that, and then the body getting discovered, but also, you know, because the war is over and all these documents have been unsealed or found after the Germans lost, like just how much the command of the German forces bought Operation Mincemeat, to the point where like divisions of tanks were moved and then like put in Greece and then didn't leave Greece. So like whole sections of forces were just immobilized and inefficient because Operation Mincemeat was so successful. So it not only had really great impact on Operation Husky landing on Sicily, but also had further impacts in the war because the documents were so convincing, and this Major Martin character was just so well done that they even convinced the Fuhrer that this was happening and then this was a real thing. So, and it went all the way up to the top. So, and this was something they had to fight their own British intelligence to like convince them to let them do, because you know it is, we're taking a random dead body and doing this and trying to find the right dead body and all. It might be a little bit difficult to find this particular copy because this one originally was from 1963. However, there is a movie that was, I think it's a movie released in 2021 called Operation Mincemeat with Colin Firth in it. So if you're interested in it, that might be a good place to go. There's also an older movie based on this book from I think in the 1950s as well, if you can find that somewhere in the Internet Archives. But if you're a big military history buff, or you're a big World War II history buff, or you've got a dad who is into World War II, because that seems to be a dad thing that's very trite and stereotypical, this is actually really good, and I really liked it, especially considering that I think this is their only book, and for someone that didn't write genre fiction at all, even though this is a nonfiction book, for someone who was a military officer and not a writer, did a really good job. But again, that's also coming from someone who's more interested in social history, so there's a lot of letters in here that were the supporting documentation and like the conversations that they were having and like how to build this character. So it was really cool. I liked it. It was enjoyable. It was also really quick. You see it's a little tiny book. So it took me less than 2 hours to read, and that's pretty nice for nonfiction. But yeah, so if you come across The Man Who Never Was, or if you decide to watch Operation Mincemeat or The Man Who Never Was, I highly recommend it. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!